Mind Control Made Easy, or How to Become a Cult Leader by Carrie Burt. This film's been around for years and years, and it's making its rounds on the internet again. I hate how it's being memeified, so let's take this seriously and go point by point. Let's do this.
Don't you want devoted followers who leave their families for you, give their money to you, give their bodies to you, give up their lives for you, consider you God, and will kill for you?
Pretty extreme stuff. Being in a cult is a 24/7 all in investment. It's not your Christian friend who goes to Sunday Mass once a week for 2 hours. That's not being in a cult. Your ordinary Republican or Democrat is not in a cult. They can barely be bothered to vote once every 4 years. Trumpism could probably be a cult because there is some religious veneration toward an autocratic figure. There's even vague prophecies of Trump being sent by God to save America. So there's some pretty culty stuff in that, but usually the term cult gets thrown around so loosely it starts to lose its meaning. So, give up your bodies, your families, your lives, your money. That's cult stuff. It's an all-in exploitative investment. It's exploitation. It's all exploitation. So let's save the term cult for the real stuff.
I love you.
Don't you want to become a cult leader?
Who wouldn't?
Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You could fill that void. Here's how.
Since the death of God, there's been a vacancy open. You can fill that void. Yes, there's a lot of void and vacancy when it comes to meaning and purpose and community these days. There's something called God of the gaps. Everything we couldn't explain in the universe, we just attributed to God. But as science answers more questions, we're closing that gap more and more. And some people feel like it demystifies the world, makes it a less magical place. No one wants to feel like just being an evolved monkey on a rock, floating, like flying through cold space in a sea of nothingness, and all this was for nothing. No one wants to feel like that. Everyone wants to feel purpose, meaning. They want to feel like they're important and are on a special mission of some sorts. People want community. We're less religious, and when you leave religion, you're also leaving a community, and we don't really have anything to replace that. It's not science's job to give you meaning and purpose, but we do need community. We're losing third spaces, our home away from homes. We're in a loneliness epidemic. People are losing their social skills as well. And as people lose meaning, purpose, community, they start to lose hope. And a good cult leader swoops in and says, I got answers for you. So, yeah, there's vacancies open and people are looking to fill those voids. So, just choose well and make sure it's on an exploitative path you're going down.
Structure your cult like an onion with the most benign and helpful features on the outside and the most controlling, kooky, and evil parts at the secret inner core.
Yeah, cults are all about deception. If cults were honest, nobody would join. And it slowly becomes a high control group over time. Like people who joined Synanon really just wanted treatment for their drug addictions. People who joined Heaven's Gate were joining because they wanted to look up at the stars for UFOs with like-minded people. They thought it was fun, and slowly over time becomes more and more of a high control group. So no one joins a cult on purpose.
Use deception. Don't tell them who you really are. Lie, leave out important information, or distort information.
Are you trying to recruit me?
No, I'm just trying to share something meaningful with you.
Establish front groups.
We're a Bible study group.
We're a management course.
We're a meditation center.
We're a world peace organization.
We're a personal development center.
We're a drug rehab center.
Yeah, cults need front groups. That's how they put themselves out in the world and yet hiding in plain sight. That's how they recruit. That's how they do business to make money. That's where they gather for further indoctrination. They mentioned drug rehab or a drug rehab program. That sounds like Synanon. They mentioned a personal development center. That sounds like Nexium, where people join to seek help for their traumas, whether from childhood or from a divorce or whatever it may be, and elevate their consciousness. And in doing so, they would also elevate the consciousness of the world. But, we all know how Nexium turned out. And what else did they mention? World Peace Organization. I believe the Unification Church They had a front group. I can't remember the acronym for their front group, but they would have their like marches for peace. They mentioned a meditation center that sounds like Rajneeshpuram or Anne Hamilton Burns' The Family. They thought they were joining like a yoga group or a meditation group, but all that stuff just sucks people in. It sounds profound. It sounds mystical, but as over time becomes more and more of a high control group. And they do that by establishing front groups. They also establish front businesses because cults are all about making money. You've given money to a cult, I'm sure of it, and you didn't even know it. You ever go to a yellow deli and later you find out, hey, that's owned by the 12 Tribes community. If you like the Yogi Tea brand, you may not have known that's actually owned by 3HO. 3HO also owns Egg House Security. And they have high-profile clientele, including the government. They've done private security for courthouses and detention centers, and even NASA. Folks have infiltrated NASA. They've infiltrated the government. They've infiltrated schools. They've infiltrated our news media. The Unification Church owns the Washington Times. Falun Gong owns the Epoch Times. Falun Gong also owns the Shen Yun dance troupe. If you've ever seen those billboards around town of that Chinese dance troupe, Shen Yun, and they're trying to promote traditional Chinese culture before communism took over. And then you learn it's a really conservative cult, and they support far-right ideologies and conspiracy theories. So if you look around, the cults own so many things. If you ever gone into a Walmart, it might have been built by the FLDS, for all you know, with their slave labor, using their young teenage boys as free labor for their construction companies. You might have known. You might have gone to a building built by a cult. You might have bought a product owned by a cult. You might have gone to a restaurant owned by a cult. You might have watched a program that was supported by a cult. Have you ever watched the 19 Kids and Counting? That family, the father of that family is affiliated with the Institute of Basic Life Principles. I believe that's what it's called. And that group was also affiliated with many conservative politicians. So yeah, cults are everywhere. They're in your politics. They're in your schools. They're in your news media. So, yeah, front groups. You got to have them if you're a cult leader.
Promise to fulfill their dreams.
Don't you want a world of unconditional love and brotherhood?
We have the secrets to self-improvement.
You can join us and be special. Join our elite mission to save the world.
We can teach you special powers.
Personal power.
Psychic power.
Past life connection.
Telekinesis.
Yeah. Cults make huge, unrealistic promises, but they give you a sense of euphoria thinking about those promises. And that's what gets you sucked in, that euphoric feeling. They promise to fulfill your dreams, no matter how unrealistic. People join Scientology because they want to become, they're actors and they want to become successful. They promised superpowers as well. People join because they want to be part of an elite mission to save the world. That's why people follow Q, because Q makes people, these far-right conservative people, feel like they're spies in an action movie. They feel like the drops that Q hosts are like this exclusive insider knowledge, and it gives them a sense of purpose and meaning because they feel like they can use this knowledge to better their world and create their conservative utopia, and it justifies all their already established beliefs. But it gives them that euphoric feeling that they're part of something elite and exclusive. People, what else did they mention? That people feel like they can transform themselves or purify themselves, be healed of all illnesses, whether it's João Dudeus in Brazil, claiming to be a psychic surgeon and, using his powers to heal whatever illness you have, or Mario Pianesi in Italy claiming his macrobiotic diet can cure you of all chronic illnesses. Or it can even be workout regimens like CrossFit. There's some extreme circles of CrossFit. I might mention them later. But yeah, it's all about transformation, purity, perfection. People who joined Heaven's Gate because they wanted to become perfected alien beings that was worthy of the next level, this alien kingdom of heaven. So yeah, whether you want to transform yourself or transform the world for the better, it gives you that euphoric feeling, and that's what cults promise. That's why people join cults, because they're ambitious. They're big dreamers. Multi-level marketing are like modern day cults, and they promise unrealistic things too. Not just extreme wealth, but also extreme success. That the work you do is the amount you're going to make, and it's not true at all. You're being scammed. But they make these huge promises, not just with money, but being all you can be and all that. The military kind of uses that similar language as well. But yeah, it's all about transformation for yourself and for the world.
Offer them something free and get them to feel obliged to give you something in return.
Well, we gave you that free dinner. The least you could do is come to our weekend intensive.
You can tell them time is running out and that they must make their decision now or it will be too late.
This is your only chance to make it. Don't blow it.
It's important to make this commitment now.
This is an issue of burning urgency.
Don't give them time to think.
So this is a sales technique. Get people to buy or invest right away. Because if they sleep on it or they go home and discuss it, they're going to lose that euphoric feeling that you just gave them. Euphoria wears off. Euphoria is a very powerful thing, and euphoria shuts off our critical thinking. So you try to give people that euphoric feeling, and you got to get them to invest or drop everything and leave with you. Jim Jones of the People's Temple of Jonestown, he would give people that euphoric feeling. He would take his show on the road. He would tour, and he would do these faith healings, these public performances of faith healings, his speeches, his lectures. He would get the crowd chanting and singing and cheering, and he just builds this euphoric feeling if you're in attendance. And he would convince people to just drop everything, get on his bus, and go back to San Francisco with him. And, just upend their lives and just go. Because they had that euphoric feeling, and he convinced them, like, the bus is leaving, you better get on it now. People disappeared after Heaven's Gate recruitment meetings as well. I've seen newspaper clippings of the headlines that so many people just disappeared from this town, and this mysterious cult was the most likely culprit because of all the mysterious recruitment posters that were left around town. They really did convince people to just drop everything and go. Not give them time to think, not think about it, get to us later when you feel like you're ready. No, it has to happen now, because that euphoric feeling will leave. One former follower of Heaven's Gate literally said at a recruitment meeting, he felt euphoric. He felt higher than a kite. And we're all familiar with the term FOMO, fear of missing out. Even if something sounds ridiculous with a promise you made, you just got to plant that tiny little seed of doubt in the back of their mind that says, what if they're right? So that combination of not giving time to think and that FOMO, that little seed of doubt that says, what if they're right? It's a very powerful thing.
Finish doubting commiseration by separating your new recruits from each other. Surround them with happy, true believers, so when in doubt, they will tend to do what everyone around them is doing and believe that is normal.
Yeah, you can go look up something called the Asch conformity experiment, and it pretty much says that, like, people will go with the group, then trust their own instincts. People will, some people literally question that, hey, maybe I'm wrong and they're right, or I think I'm right and they're wrong, but I don't want to stand out. But either way, they conform. It wasn't for everybody, but it was a significant amount of people, a scary amount of people that actually just conformed despite them knowing they were right, or at one point knowing they were right. But yeah, there's something called the Overton window in politics, where extreme beliefs are niche or on the fringes, but then you make it normalized and it becomes normal. And then those extreme beliefs become popular. And then those extreme beliefs, finally, the Overton window has shifted so much that those extreme beliefs become policy. And I think people do that with themselves and what they consider normal, or what they consider their personal boundaries. Cults break down those personal boundaries and shift the Overton window of what's normal until it becomes your daily life. It becomes pretty much your daily policy. Some first online cults that I knew about, this was like over 10 years ago, but it was a Facebook group called Girls Night In, and it was for women who are new to LA, because LA's full of transplants. So this group kind of took advantage of that. Women that wanted to be plugged into the social high life, the social nightlife in LA, in Los Angeles. And they started wearing down their personal boundaries by convincing women to start posting nude photos of themselves in the group chat on the Facebook group. I mean, it was kind of painted as fun and kind of daring, so they had a little element of fun to it, but there's elements of blackmail when people do this. And not only that, it starts to wear down your personal boundaries. So if they wear down your personal boundaries, now you have no separation between your personal life and the group. And NXIVM did this as well years later. I think Girls Not In did it first. NXIVM did it later, where they convinced women to hand over nude photographs of themselves. Pretty much these compromising photographs that were used as blackmail to never betray the group, but also it wore down their personal boundaries. If you don't have personal boundaries, the group just controls you. There is no separation between self and group. And that's when you become a cult member. So, yeah, you surround them you control their environment, you surround them by true believers, and all the weird culty stuff just becomes normal.
Start with a prolonged period of love bombing. Surround them with unconditional love and attention. Your cult family should act friendly and interested. Get information and hone their weak spots.
Tell us about yourself.
Take this personality test.
And then use this information to manipulate them.
Never give up any dirt on yourself to anyone. If you go to a Scientology recruitment office, they're going to, talk the great stuff about themselves and what they can do for you. Then you watch a little movie about Scientology, and then they ask you to fill out this personality quiz or whatever, and then they tell you what you're lacking in, they kind of make you feel ashamed of yourself a little bit, but they also tell you they can help you with all that. Don't ever give up dirt on yourself. Don't. And just keep that stuff to yourself. It can be used for blackmail, it can be used for manipulation. Once it's out there, it's out there. So, secrets, let's normalize those again.
Gradually, over time, you'll begin to shape the recruit's behavior by granting or withholding this love and attention. After they've bonded, slowly start making your demands upon them.
Love bombing. We overuse that term a lot with our therapy speak, our memeified therapy speak. But love bombing is actually it has its origins in cults with the Children of God and the Unification Church. Now it's used to describe any abusive relationship that uses that cycle of making the other person feel special and then either attacking the person or withholding that love and making them feel like they need to earn it again. And for cults, the way to earn that love again is to show your devotion.
The message being,
Nothing in this world has value unless it relates to the leader or the ultimate purpose.
By the way, abusive relationships, those are cults of two people. One cult leader, one cult follower.
control their behavior.
Come live with us.
Wear these clothes.
Eat this food. All you need is 2 hours sleep.
So come live with us. Yeah, drop everything, your friends and family, your prior commitments, your responsibilities. Come live with us on our compound, whether that's Jonestown or the Heaven's Gate mansion or the boat that the Zizians were living on most recently before they all got captured or killed, or whether it's a compound in Japan for Aum Shinrikyo, or the Buddha Field, or Rajneeshpuram. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, they love to make people drop their entire lives, come live with them, and once you go live with them, you hand over your money, and you're working them for free. And now it's hard to leave because you've given everything. The FLDS living out in Short Creek, middle of nowhere. The Anthill Kids living, out in the woods in Canada. Cults isolate themselves and keep people insulated from outside information and influence. And then wear these clothes, and it's all about conformity. You wear a uniform. You might shave your head. You might conform with your diet. You conform with your daily schedule. You have to do what everyone else is in a rigid schedule. I think Heaven's Gate was probably at the most regimented schedule. It seemed like every single minute of their lives was determined by Marshall Applewhite. I reference Heaven's Gate a lot just because Heaven's Gate mind control is so interesting, and it checks off so many boxes because they didn't use physical threats or physical force. They straight up just brainwashed. And that's what's so fascinating about Heaven's Gate. They didn't have to actually threaten people. They didn't actually inflict violence. They really just straight up brainwashed. So that's why I reference Heaven's Gate a lot, because their brainwashing program was probably the best I've ever seen. The strongest, I should say, because I don't want to make it sound like a positive thing, calling it the best, but the strongest brainwashing I think I've seen. And then what else they said? Eat this food. They're going to give you low protein, low calorie food. They want you to be malnourished. If you're malnourished, your brain is easier to brainwash because you're not thinking straight. It affects your critical thinking. Hunger is a very powerful tool of indoctrination. And then all you need is 2 hours sleep. Cults are infamous for sleep deprivation. Sleep deprivation is probably the number one way to brainwash someone other than constant propaganda. But in the short term, sleep depriving someone just shuts off their critical thinking. Their brain becomes mush, and you can mold it in any way you want. Everyone does this. Heaven's Gate had a 4-hour polyphasic sleep cycle. The Zizians, most recently, that cult that's been in the news, this past year. The leader, she had this theory of the pseudoscientific theory about the brain, that we don't have one consciousness. We actually have two, one for each hemisphere of the brain. And so she told her followers that they can keep one half awake while the other one sleeps, and then the other half wakes up while the other one sleeps, and alternate them. That's just sleep deprivation. That's just keeping people awake, claiming that they're letting one half sleep and one half awake. It's all one consciousness. So if you're awake, you're awake, and you're just being sleep deprived. And that's how she was able to indoctrinate these people, these former Silicon Valley workers, these former Silicon Valley tech workers. They seem like pretty smart, intelligent people. They were former Silicon Valley workers, and well, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you're sleep deprived, your brain is mush. So, I mean, even online cults do this. Twin Flames universe primarily operates online, but they'll still do these like conference calls and these coaching calls at all hours of the night. They won't let you sleep, even if it's online, because that technique works so well. But let's keep going.
Prescribe a rigid schedule.
Keep them busy. Don't give them free time. We see thought-stopping rituals that goes hand in hand with the indoctrination activities. Fundraising. Cults are all about raising money for the cult leader. Menial labor, yeah. Just keep them straight up busy and exhausted. Confessionals. Cults are always trying to dig up dirt on you for blackmail or to make you feel shamed and manipulate you with that shame or that guilt. Also, confessionals provide an opportunity to use you as a spy on the other cult members. So, and there's fasting, of course. Gotta starve them or make them malnourished. Cold showers to wake them up from the sleep deprivation so they can get to work like that. All night vigils, yep. Sleep deprive them.
Keep them active and with as little sleep as possible. If you can, restrict their eating habits to low-protein food.
Yep, malnourishment. The MAPI diet, Mario Pianesi, he was a diet guru that became a cult leader, and some of his followers got sick from his macrobiotic diet. One follower dropped to a dangerous 77 pounds. That's how extreme the diet was. Anne Hamilton Byrne, aka the family, she kind of had like this white supremacist cult. She illegally adopted children. She had a lot of adult followers as well, but they didn't know that she was grooming her illegally adopted children because she wanted to make this master race after the apocalypse. But she would really underfeed these kids, like just give them a cup of steamed veggies for just the entire day. And those kids are just, not only are they too young to defend themselves, but after being sleep deprived and starved, it's what can they do? And Heaven's Gate did water fasts and juice fasts. Even the size of their pancakes had to be a certain size. So yeah, their food was very, very controlled. The Buddha Field cult restricted a lot of ingredients in their food. No sugar, no honey, no chocolate, no this, no that, no, and then of course no alcohol or anything. So Cults love to control what you eat. Twin Flames Universe, Jeff Divine, the cult leader, he has this line of meals called Divine Dish, I believe, and his followers pretty much have to eat those, and that's another way that he makes money off of them. While cults usually malnourish people, he actually made these meals indulgent. And it had the opposite effect, but it was still effective in brainwashing because these women, it was mostly women in the group, gained a lot of weight from these indulgent meals. And so they gained weight in a very short time. And it still had the effect of brainwashing because when you gain weight rapidly, it messes with your body image, the way you think of yourself. It makes you feel shamed. And that leaves you more vulnerable. You feel like you're not going to find, because the group was all about finding their soulmate. So it makes them feel like they can't find love in the outside world, that they need the group even more because they're going to need Jeff Divine as a matchmaker because they're feeling more ashamed of themselves for gaining so much weight, and they rely further on the leader. So even overfeeding still has a brainwashing effect to it. So yeah, cults love to control your sleep, control what you eat, control who you marry, control what you work at. And yeah, it's just you're completely under someone else's control.
Control their thoughts.
Our ideology answers all questions to all problems.
Let our doctrine think for you.
Control their emotions. Induce guilt.
The United States dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima.
People are dying of starvation.
People are dying of starvation.
You are not living up to your potential.
You are not living up to your potential.
Thought you were better than this. All these kind of lines you hear to kind of show induce disappointment in yourself and how you're disappointing others. You're disappointing the leader, your group, your friends, your family, which is no one is your blood relative in the group, and then letting down the world. You joined the cult because you wanted to be a hero and save the world.
You cheated on that test.
And fear.
The enemy will electroshock you,
Torture you.
Kill you.
Or carry you off to hell.
Yeah, you're going to be possessed by Satan. You're not going to find anything for yourself out in the outside world. You need us. You're going to get bad karma. Blah, blah, blah. Everything's fear. It's guilt. Yeah.
Control information. Keep them from knowing all the workings of the cult.
Block out any information which is critical of the group.
Encourage members to spy and report on one another. Separate the recruit from himself by attacking the self and inducing a mental breakdown disguised as a spiritual awakening. When they start to freak out, have side effects, or hallucinate, tell them they are flushing out the bad stuff inside.
When I was meditating, I felt an infinite emptiness. It was utterly terrifying.
No, this is good. You're transforming. Do it more.
Use mental breakdowns and disguise it as spiritual awakenings. This is a powerful one. And a lot of times they do it with LSD and psychedelics. The Manson family was infamous for this, that he would put the LSD on their tongues and they'd have their hallucinations, and Charles Manson would present himself as this divine being, this crucified Christ-like being to them. And, their trip or their bad trip ended up becoming this profound spiritual experience for them. Anne Hamilton Byrne would do the same thing with her illegally adopted children. She'd give them psychedelics and then lock them into a dark room. And in the darkness, they'd have their hallucinations and they'd have their freakouts. They'd pound on the door. They wanted out. And Anne Hamilton Byrne would open the door wearing all white with like a fog machine around her ankles and a light behind her, trying to appear as this like divine angelic being to them, like their savior when she opens the door. So she kind of disguised their freakouts as a spiritual experience toward her. And it doesn't even have to be a spiritual experience that for a freakout that you're adding spin to. Cults sugarcoat all kinds of unsightly things. All the worst things about a cult, they sugarcoat. They know how to sugarcoat these things. The Unification Church would actually encourage members to lie to recruit people, and they'd call it heavenly deception. That, yeah, you may be lying, but if you're lying for the church and you're lying for God, it's actually a good thing. It's called heavenly deception. It could be Um, it could justify all kinds of crimes for the group, including murder, like Om Shinrikyo. They murdered a former member who was leaving the group and was going to spill their secrets and was going to go to the police. And when they murdered this person, they justified it by saying, if we let him do what he was going to do, he was going to give himself bad karma and become reincarnated as a rodent or whatever in the next life. So by murdering him, we're actually helping him by stopping him from getting bad karma. In today's world, the extreme circles of CrossFit, the most extreme circles of CrossFit have this mascot called Uncle Rabdo. Rabdo is I can't remember the entire term for Rabdo, what it's short for, but Rabdo is a condition where you push your body so far that your muscles begin to deteriorate and your muscles in your dead muscles go into your bloodstream, and then it poisons your kidneys. And so this Uncle Rabdo mascot, this cartoon clown that's hooked up to a dialysis machine, is kind of making light of a serious, potentially lethal condition. But it causes some extreme CrossFit members to wear it like a badge of honor on their path toward the ultimate perfection, the ultimate transformation, which is their idea of fitness. So the extreme circles of CrossFit can sugarcoat potentially lethal condition and turn it into a badge of honor. So yeah, cults are very great at sugarcoating things, including freakouts, including injury, including crimes, including mental breakdowns. So yeah, I love this point that they made. It's a very powerful one.
You are reaching God.
You're being reborn.
You are becoming one with the universe, one with our family.
Make them paranoid about their own bodies or thought processes.
You're battling your sinful nature.
Your body is detoxified.
Tell them that there is a part of their mind they must eliminate in order to find happiness.
You must eliminate the toxic mind.
Your ego is the source of all your problems.
Problem is always you. It's never the cult. It's never the world. It is always you. It's your mind. It's your lack of purity. A lot of cults just are all about demanding perfection and purity. And why that's so powerful is because it's impossible to be perfect. And while they promise they can make you perfect, you're never going to be perfect. And you feel like, I got to stick with the group and just try harder. I'm almost there. I'm not there yet, but if I try harder, I know I'll get there. Heaven's Gate demanded demanded people to be perfect in order to become these superior alien beings that were chosen to go toward the next level, the heavenly kingdom of space or whatever. Or could be like purifying your body in these fad diets like MAPI, Mario Pianesi's macrobiotic diet, or extreme circles of CrossFit, where you have to, your body has to become perfect to the point where even if you injure yourself, as long as you come out looking perfect. Or like the Buddha field, they had to have this not just level of fitness, but this level of beauty. The Buddha field was a group of beautiful people from Hollywood that were aspiring actors and dancers or whatever. They wanted to make it big in Hollywood, and Buddha field cult said, hey, I can give you spiritual guidance. And then you see a group of beautiful looking people, and why wouldn't you want to be one of the beautiful looking people? They look so perfect. So yeah, demanding purity, perfection, it's going to wear on your mind, it's going to wear on your body.
I don't know who I am anymore.
Good. Now you're free. In fact, there was no you there to begin with.
Claim authority. It can come from a divine source.
Your Bible clearly states that I am the Messiah.
Bogus scientific research.
Scientific studies prove my techniques work.
Or special knowledge.
I am the enlightened master of the universe.
Make up stories about yourself to boost your importance.
I invented air. I have special access to the aliens.
But don't be stupid about it. Start slowly. A good con man takes a little bit of truth and a lot of lies and pulls the wool over the eyes of the ignorant.
So, You got to have this kind of myth making where you boost your status, you boost your divinity, you boost your intelligence, you boost your powers. It can come from a divine source, like you can say you're the one that speaks directly to God or you're God's chosen one. Sun Myung Moon of the Moonies or the Unification Church claimed that Jesus visited him when he was 16 years old and said, I failed. I didn't create these sinless children. I didn't, like I was supposed to. You need to take my mission and unify the church, the Christian faith, and create sinless children. So they claimed like he was chosen, a divine source. Bogus scientific research that can include bogus tests, like IQ tests, like Keith Raniere of Nexium. He took this IQ test and he got this ridiculously high score and claimed to be the smartest man in the world. And people believe this. Even the Guinness Book of World Records backed it up and claimed it was real. They didn't mention it was a take-home test, and it's very easy to cheat on a take-home test, but it was enough for people to believe because it boosted his status as an intelligent figure that can help them make the right investments, help them with their personal traumas, with their mental blockages, and they even called him Vanguard. It can come from Heaven's Gate used a lot of sci-fi language. It wasn't scientific, but it sounded very sciencey, and it added a physicality to the biblical stories. And Marshall Applewhite claimed to talk to the aliens telepathically, especially when his co-founder Bonnie Lou Nettles passed away. He claimed he was telepathically speaking to her as she passed on to the next level. And there's all kind of myth making. They say they have superpowers. People thought the leader of Om Shinrikyo could levitate because of the photos he would publish of himself. People thought João Dudeias of Brazil could do these faith healings. They claimed to be a psychic surgeon. He was even on the Oprah Winfrey show. She actually humored him and thought he was the real deal. I hate Oprah. She kind of gives legitimacy to these con artists, but so you need this myth making. And then this quote here, a good con man takes a little bit of truth and a lot of lies, and you have to start with the nugget of truth. You always have to fall back on that nugget of truth. You start with that and you build around it. And as more and more of your ideology becomes ridiculous, you can always fall back on that. People who follow QAnon, why they follow QAnon? Because they believe that the news media and the government, they're not trustworthy. They lie. And it's true. It's true. But that doesn't make the conspiracy theories that they spread true also. But why would you ever question those conspiracy theories when that little nugget of truth is right there? So you always have that to fall back on. Hey, that conspiracy theory is ridiculous. But why would you not believe this conspiracy theory? Do you actually believe the government then? If you don't believe this conspiracy theory, then you must believe the government. So you always have to fall back on that. Multi-level marketing kind of does that too. Like, they always remind you that you've always dreamed bigger. Didn't you want to be all you can be? Like, and that also sounds like the military also, or the Marines, I think more specifically. But you always have to fall back on that, like, because one of the biggest target audiences is housewives that never had a chance to build their own career. And so MLMs will always fall back on that little nugget of truth that they never really had a shot to build their own career, be their own boss, be their own business owner. So they rely on that nugget of truth to fall back on, even though it becomes more and more apparent that they're getting scammed and they're not going to make any money. They're sinking themselves further. They can always fall back on that. This is your chance to be your own boss. This is your chance to make something of yourself. This is your own chance to be the businesswoman, the boss babe that you always wanted to be, but you started a family, you became a housewife. They always fall back on that. So I love this quote. Keep it in mind because it's a very powerful one.
Induce trance states and self-hypnosis by practicing thought-stopping rituals and repetitive acts like dancing, spinning, singing.
We love the leader is love. When I'm not with him, I feel like a schlub. We love the leader is love. When I'm not with him, I feel like a schlub.
breathing, and chanting.
Stamp out down, 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 stamp out down.
Stamp out doubt, stamp out doubt, stamp out doubt.
Practice prolonged hours of meditation.
So, trance-inducing self-hypnosis through repetitive group activities. Again, this is kind of building that euphoria or making you kind of loopy in a way. They mentioned chants, spinning, dancing, singing, meditation. And the best example of this that includes pretty much all of this in one is dynamic meditation from Osho or Rajneeshpuram. These people they wanted the materialism of the West to combine with the spirituality and mysticism of the East. And so they wanted, this was the new age era, and they want, where Western people, privileged white people, were exploring Eastern alternatives to their families' faiths and spirituality, but they didn't want to leave the materialism behind. And so Osho promised that they didn't have to. The complete man takes the materialism of the West, the wealth of the West, with the spirituality of the East, and becomes one. Well, he would make these people do these trance states by dynamic meditation. They'd jump up and down. They'd hyperventilate with deep breathing. They'd yell. They'd holler. They'd spin. Anything. They would just pretty much let themselves go crazy. And so sometimes they were just completely nude as well. So imagine a room full of crazy naked people jumping and spinning and dancing and screaming and hollering, all at once. It's just a big wall of sound, of voices, and just bodies moving everywhere. And then in one instance, they all have to drop and lay in complete silence. And so it shakes up their headspace. Hyperventilation makes them loopy. All that movement makes them exhausted. All that sound starts to disorient themselves, and then all that complete silence, and they kind of, in that silence, they kind of focus on their feeling of euphoria. They're feeling they let epiphanies enter their heads, and they get into this headspace that they've never gotten into before. Kind of reminds me how when I played football in high school, for a game, well, when you play a violent sport like football, you have to unleash the beast in you. You have to change your headspace. You have to change your frame of mind, because if you play football with a normal frame of mind, you're going to get killed. So before the game, we'd jump and chant and growl and smack our helmets together, and then we do these hitting drills, and it was pretty much psyching us up to get into that violent mode, because you can't play football in a normal frame of mind. You have to straight up do these pre-game rituals to change your frame of mind, to get in the game and be ready to kill that opponent. You can't do that in a normal frame of mind. You're gonna lose. You're gonna get killed. And so cults kind of do that. They shake up your frame of mind, and that's kind of like the Overton window of changing what's normal. And so if you can, look crazy and be butt naked in a room with other people, I mean, what can't this cult make you do? So I love using Rajneeshpuram as like the example of all of these, putting all of these trance-inducing group rituals into one. It's called dynamic meditation, if you want to look more into it.
In these trance states, they are more receptive and suggestible. Revert them back to childhood dependence and mindless obedience.
Revert them back to childhood dependence. This makes me think of female cult leaders. They a lot of them have this kind of motherly image. They even change their names or their titles to reflect their motherly instincts, their motherly feelings that they induce in their followers. The Love Has Won cult, the leader, she was called Mother God, and whoever her boyfriend was at the time, she went through several, they all were called Father God. So they had this parental kind of imagery, but she was always Mother God. She was always the sole leader. And the irony of this is she abandoned her children to find this cult and become a cult leader. And that's kind of the irony. She had these complete adult strangers refer to her as mother. They would either call her mother or Mother God. And the followers ditched their families, their parents, to live under this motherly figure and call her mother. That's the weird thing about this cult. They straight up left their families for a new family with her as the mother and her followers as children. And they kind of did have this childhood dependency and obedience. They didn't have their own money anymore. If they ever wanted, one person controlled all the finances. They controlled their bank accounts. And if you ever wanted anything, you had to ask like a child, even for basic things like food. Can I have this? You have to ask permission, like a child again. And another example, Joyce Green, who changed her name. I don't know if she actually changed her name or just her title. She became Ma Jaya. Ma Jaya, who reflects her cult was called Kashi Ashram. Let me look it up because I know it's an Eastern thing and I don't want it. Kashi, no. Ma Jaya. Kashi Ashram. It's a Eastern thing. I'm not familiar with Eastern religion, so I'm not going to pretend. But her name reflects these Eastern religions that were popular at the time, and then while also adding a motherly spin to it, Ma Jaya. And as a female cult leader, she tried to have this, this motherly, caring, innocent image. But she's a pretty domineering cult leader, and it kind of makes you drop your guard because she's this just gentle mother figure. But who else? White Wind Swan Fisher of Friends Landing. I remember I don't know about if it was a podcast or reading about it, but she would have her patients kind of call her Ma or Mama. And I believe one of her patients who sued her used to lay because her patient was mentally ill, and she claimed that she took advantage of her mental illness. And she would lay her head on her chest and stroke her head and talk to her like if she was her child. This was an adult woman, and pretty much reverting her back into a child and making her depend on White Wind Swan Fisher, like if she was her mother, and she would actually call her mama or mother or whatever. And so it seems like there's like this pattern of female cult leaders who are great at becoming a motherly figure, even changing their name to reflect that, and reverting the followers to childhood obedience and childhood dependency. So it's just something I noticed.
Encourage separation from their family.
Your friends and family probably won't understand.
Your friends and family probably won't understand.
It doesn't sound like your family and friends really love you if they can't support your new decision.
Maybe you should stay away from them. It's unhealthy for you to be around unenlightened people anyway.
If you can't recruit your friends, cut off from them.
Stop wasting time with non-believers.
Stop wasting time with non-believers.
Yeah. Create us versus them dynamics, demonize outsiders, and then separate your followers from their friends and family who are not in the group. Or don't talk to people who left the group. Synanon would call these people splitties. And the leader, Chuck Diedrich, he characterized them as not just traitors, but dangerous threats to the cohesion of their experimental community. In Scientology, they call these people, they would call this a suppressive person, someone who's holding you back, who's preventing you from moving forward in the hierarchy of Scientology. And that could be a family member who's objecting to your involvement in the group, or someone who's trying to tell you otherwise, like a psychiatrist who's trying to help you. I believe, Heaven's Gate, the leaders were paranoid and they'd move their people around because they didn't want family members finding them and then talking their members into leaving. 7M Films and the documentary on Netflix, they were accused of recruiting these viral TikTok dancers and then cutting them off from their friends and family. And then the family in the documentary are trying to email and call and text and contact their family members who are in there, and either they get a hostile response or no response at all. So yeah, you have to isolate themselves. And if you can't do that, you at least have to drive a wedge between them and their families. Multi-level marketing schemes are great at this. They'll tell you, They'll remind you how people never believed in you. People are going to doubt you, that you can't do this. They're going to tell you you can't get to the top. They're going to tell you you can't be your own boss babe, your own, businesswoman, whatever. And then imagine someone went to a recruitment meeting, heard all that, bought into everything, and then goes back home and says, I just took advantage of this great opportunity. And then your family members say, I think you're actually getting scammed. What is that person going to think? Oh, they told me there's going to be haters like you. They told me that you were going to doubt me. They knew that there'd be people like you who are trying to stop me. And it drives a wedge between you and your family. So, cutting off family members, at least they'll drive a wedge between you and the people, your loved ones who are not in the group.
Encourage dependency and conformity, and discourage autonomy and individuality.
The whole purpose must be the focus. The self-purpose must be subordinated.
The whole purpose must be the focus. The self-purpose must be subordinated.
Have confessionals where people demonize their early lives and only praise their life in the group. Rewrite the past as terrible, even if it was great.
Before I came to eMERGE, I was a bad person. I was greedy, misguided, self-centered, and lost. My life is wonderful now. I hate my old life.
Yeah, Twin Flames Universe does this too, where you have to share in these large conference calls with other members how much the group helped you, how great your marriage that was put together by the leaders, how much your life is better now. I think NXIVM did the same thing as well. They would have actually encouraged them to speak out loud about what great things NXIVM has done for them. And it's pretty much saying my life is crap until this group fixed all my problems and all this. So yeah, it's a pretty good technique to do. And it reminds me how, they call it these confessionals, but these are more like testimonials. Heaven's Gate, I think, the most eerie testimonials of any cult, because before the mass suicides, they recorded themselves. They called them exit statements, and the followers were just giddy and happy. And during these goodbyes, they were finally moving on to the next level, something they've been working on for over 20 years. And it's so eerie because you know what happens to them a day or two after they recorded those exit statements. And that's probably the most eerie testimonial. There was no sadness. You didn't really sense regret. Maybe you saw a little bit of sadness in, like, they wish they could have been better on Earth. But just like Marshall Applewhite said, he probably spoke for all of them when he said that, we hate it here. We can't wait to leave. So from their point of view, leaving this earthly existence is great. Moving on to the superior alien heaven is much better. And, it's just such an eerie thing to watch. So I think that's the most eerie cult testimonials you'll ever see. So, and they're on YouTube if you want to watch them. It's so weird. It's so off-putting. It's creepy and very sad how deeply brainwashed they were. Again, Heaven's Gate, I refer to it a lot because their brainwashing campaign is one of the deepest and strongest, maybe the deepest and strongest I've ever seen.
Before coming to eMERGE, I was always in my ego. My toxic mind was running my life. I was a sinful, negative loser. Thanks to the leader, every day I'm a winner.
Isolate them from the rest of the world. Make them feel part of a special elite group with an important mission.
Give them that purpose, that euphoria that they crave.
Monuments and historical landmarks will someday be erected to commemorate us and our sacrifices.
Make them feel like you're making history.
By establishing scapegoats and enemies. Demonize outsiders as less than human, biased, corrupt, or conspiring against the group. Develop an us versus them mentality. Fighting resistance. Tell them their critical thoughts are evidence that they have committed crimes against the group. Start investigating them and make up crimes.
I think I want to leave.
You must be insane.
Make them feel guilty.
We're doing important work here.
You expect saving the world is easy?
We're all called upon to make some sacrifices for the cause.
Just when things get tough, you want to give up.
You're weak.
Do you want to move forward toward freedom and enlightenment? Or do you want to fall back into your old dirty ways?
What's more important, our mission?
Our family?
Eternal salvation?
Or your petty grievances?
You're being negative.
Ignorant.
Selfish.
And sinful.
Our leader is flawless.
The doctrine is flawless.
There must be something wrong with you.
There must be something wrong with you.
There must be something wrong with you.
There must be something wrong with me. There must be something wrong with me.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is.
Dogpiling is
Indoctrinate
crazy.
with fear. Tell them that they could be possessed by evil spirits, or suggest that if they should ever leave, something bad could happen to them.
I'm just warning you that without us, you're liable to get into a bad accident, get sick, or even die.
I'm warning you. Without us, you're likely to get into a bad accident, get sick, or even die.
If you leave, you'll just be reincarnated into a lower life form.
Yep. Bad
Make
karma.
it easier for them to die for you by calling their bodies containers that are shed before they evolve into higher life forms.
Which cult do you think they're referring to in that one? It's obviously Heaven's Gate. They refer to their bodies as vehicles, and that's how it was so easy to die for the leader and, think they're moving on to this superior world. And here they said containers, but in Heaven's Gate for over 20 years, I don't know when they started using this language, but the cult was around for over 20 years before the mass suicides. They referred to their bodies as vehicles. They changed their language to reshape themselves to make it seem like they're living in a spaceship. The laundry room was the fiber lab. The kitchen was the Nutra lab. Food was called fuel. Houses were called crafts, like as in spacecraft. So, they would use these blackout curtains, and members were not allowed to leave the house. Only a select few at one point could leave the house, and it was mostly to go to work to get money for the goal. So being locked in, it felt like you're on a spaceship in space. You can't go outside. And then you're using this sci-fi kind of spacey language to refer to everything, and then this depersonalized language about yourself for over 20 years. Imagine referring to your body, something, the most personal thing about yourself, as just a vehicle. After you brainwash yourself for over 20 years buying into that, it is going to be easy to lay down your life for the cult, because you feel like your body isn't even yours. It's just a vehicle. So that kind of impersonal language, I don't know, the unpersonal, depersonal, impersonal, I don't know, but that kind of language that makes your body feel less personal. That's what they did, and that's a major reason why they were happy to do what they did.
It's that simple. Now, don't you want to become a cult leader? Don't you want devoted followers who leave their families for you, give their money to you, give their bodies to you, give up their lives for you, and will kill for you?
I will do what you say for the cause. I will leave my family for the cause. I will give you my money for the cause. I will give you my body for the cause. I will die for the cause. I will kill for the cause.
I love you.
Cults tend to end in dramatic fashion. I'll let you watch the credits and I'll give my closing thoughts. I just want the creators, the makers, to get their credit, because this is a pretty well put together, pretty thorough, but also pretty quick introduction to cults, their tactics, and how to become a cult leader yourself. So as kind of irreverent and kind of jokey as this video is, despite the dark content, I do like that this content exists, as well as I know the series gets some criticism, but how to be a cult leader, how to become a cult leader series that's on YouTube on Netflix. That one kind of, the one that's narrated by Tyrion Lannister, which is, I can't remember his name. Peter Dinklage. That one kind of gets some criticism for its irreverent tone. It feels like it's not thorough enough. The cult leaders they chose are the most well-known ones, so it's not really a deep dive into anything. But I think that's great because I do like that these kind of introductory 101 videos about cults has this irreverent, sarcastic, kind of snarky tone to them because it makes it easier to introduce yourself to it. If you have an academic tone, someone who's never showed interest in brainwashing techniques in cults, in cult history, and the psychology behind cults and the economics, the logistics of cults and all that. If it sounds too academic, someone who's never taken interest in it are going to get turned off by it. So I think we do need kind of this irreverent kind of introductory material, and I'm glad it exists. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people who first, critically thought about cults because of videos like this. Because movies do us no favor. I hate when someone thinks of a cult and they think of Midsummer. I hate that movie. It's this terrible representation of cults because cults, yes, they have compounds out in the middle of nowhere, but they also have front businesses that are right in front of your eyes. And Midsummer has none of that. The charismatic guru at the center of everything, Midsummer did not have that. They have their rituals kind of just as a religion, but with no kind of thing behind it. A cult would have their theology, their mythology, their lore, their rituals and everything to pretty much worship that autocratic living figure. And Midsummer did not have that. I hate how they also went to the outside world to choose their leader. A cult has like secessions. There's kind of like this infighting after the leader dies. So if they're looking for their new leader, a cult would not go to the outside world, someone who's not familiar with their way of life, with their ideology, with what their mission is, and find someone who, how do you know they'd be a great fit? A cult would, the most narcissistic person of the group would step up in place of the cult leader's absence. They'd be part of that cult leader's inner circle. There was no inner circle in Midsummer. What other things about cults? I haven't really finished Yellow Jackets, but I know there's like this cannibalistic cult thing when the girls are lost in the woods for too much time and they lose their minds. What else? What are the things about cults? I like The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix. That was a decent one. And yeah. Philip Seymour Hoffman's characters often gets compared to L. Ron Hubbard of Scientology. That's another good piece of cult-related media and fiction to check out. But yeah, I'm glad people are speaking critically of cults. There's whole channels on TikTok and YouTube devoted to speaking about them. There's documentaries about them all over Netflix and HBO and all the streaming services. So yeah, I'm glad a video like this exists. It's been around for a while, and I'm glad it's being viral again. I just hate how the music is becoming a sound on TikTok, and it kind of becomes a meme. But I mean, it's a kind of a irreverent video, so I guess it's very memeable. But yeah, I just wanted to give a serious, breakdown, going point by point, and I hope my use of real world examples of cults using these techniques has spoken to you, and I hope you keep your radar up and you look for the cults or the cult tactics, because even if they're not a cult, they still use cult tactics. The military, everything, if it has a boot camp, it's using cult tactics. Even former cult members have described the cults they were in as spiritual boot camps. So boot camps are mind control and breaking down your personal boundaries, breaking down what you think, shifting your Overton window of what's normal and all that. The shaving of your head, the uniforms, it's conformity. I know people in the military say they shave their heads, that men have to shave their heads because of lice, but yet the women don't have to shave their heads, and they usually have more hair. So I don't think it's lice. I think it's conformity, and I think it's breaking down your individuality. And if you let them shave your head, you're going to let them do anything. I would never let someone shave my head. I call the shots in my life. I would never join the military because I can't let someone call the shots for me. But, to each his own. But yeah, certain AA groups, certain workout regimens, the most extreme of them can be culty sororities and fraternities. The most extreme ones can be cultish as well. Certain fandoms can be cultish. They might not be cults, but all of these groups can be cultish. The tactics are there because we all have these pressure points, our psychological pressure points, our need to belong, our need to feel special, our need to be a people pleaser. Some of us want to be people pleasers. Some of us want to save the world. Some of us want to transform ourselves into something better. And, whatever it is, there's a guru out there who's going to promise that. But, learn to be independent, learn to, work hard at your own goals that you set for yourself, and never let one group take up all your time. That's the number one way to prevent yourself from joining a cult. Don't dedicate yourself and all your time to one group. Separate it among all other things. You can have your hobbies, your groups. We all need community. We all need friendships. And we all need, close-knit families and our close-knit circle. But don't let one group or one entity, take up all your time. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos on cults, mind control. I'll even get into some social engineering as well. So some dark stuff, but I'll try to keep it informative. Try to keep it a little fun. This was a long form video. I don't think I'm going to do hour-plus long videos often, but yeah, subscribe if you're into this sort of dark content. So, yep. I'll see you in my next video.